Hearing those words now, it's as if David foreshadowed Celeste's fate all along. And now, as mourners gather for her funeral, David is finally breaking his silence, delivering a speech no one expected. From disturbing online posts to chilling moments caught on camera. What's being uncovered now will forever change how we see this tragedy. When the truth hit different, investigation uncovered some wild stuff. When investigators started digging deep into what really happened to 15-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez, whose body got found chopped up in David's whip, they uncovered some straight-up disturbing evidence that had the whole industry shook. This wasn't just some random tragedy. The deeper they dug, the more it became clear that this young cat, David Anthony Burke, better known as David, had been living a double life that was darker than any of his sad boy tracks could ever capture. The most spine-chilling part about this whole situation was how David's music seemed to be telling the story before it even went down. Bro was literally putting his future crimes in his bars, and everybody just thought it was artistic expression. But when you really break it down, this dude was documenting his moves in real time. And nobody peeped game until it was way too late. David's February 2025 music video for One More Dance literally showed him dragging a bloody body and tossing it in a car trunk. Which is exactly how Celeste's remains ended up being discovered in his Tesla's front trunk 7 months later. My guy was playing both the killer and the victim in his own video. That's some sick, twisted foreshadowing if you ask me. But wait, it gets even more wild. During his 2025 Withered World Tour, this dude was actually bringing real caskets on stage and having fans write letters to dead people. Bro was literally performing mock funerals while Celeste was probably already deceased. That timing ain't no coincidence. That's some calculated, cold-blooded behavior. Back in 2022, this cat went on record talking about some character he created called Itami, some evil alter ego that would commit murders that he'd have to solve as a detective. Bro literally said he'd be solving murders that I'm committing myself. When you hear that now, knowing what we know, it hits completely different. That wasn't creative storytelling. That was a confession wrapped in artistic crap. The streets started buzzing when digital forensics uncovered some seriously incriminating evidence about what was really going on behind the scenes. Screenshots allegedly showed David posting about having a kid on the way with what investigators believe was Celeste's account. Now, people are saying that pregnancy might have been the motive. The girl was carrying his seed and he couldn't let that information get out. What really got the community heated was finding out how deep this operation went. The Hollywood Hills crib where they found Celeste during one of her runaways was leased under his manager Josh Marshall's name at Intercope Records. Soon as the feds raided the spot, Marshall broke that $20,000 a month lease and bounced. That's some real suspicious behavior right there. Nobody drops a lease that expensive unless they got something serious to hide. The internet went absolutely ballistic when this story dropped. Social media Beckham, a battlefield where amateur detectives from the hood to the suburbs were pulling up receipts, analyzing evidence, and conducting their own investigations. The #Force was trending everywhere with over 2 million mentions. And people weren't just expressing condolences, they were demanding bloods. The reaction from David's fanbase showed how divided people really were. You had some fans immediately cutting ties and calling for boycotts. But then you had others straight up victim blaming, saying Celeste brought it on herself with those fake IDs. That type of thinking is exactly why young girls from the struggle don't get the protection they deserve. Instead of holding the grown man accountable, they were finding ways to blame a child who was clearly being manipulated. Throughout this whole investigation, David stayed quiet as kept. His last social media post was September 5th, 2025. 3 days before Celeste's body got discovered. While his legal team probably told him to stay silent, that silence just made everything look more suspicious. The streets don't respect silence when a child is dead, and you're the main suspect. Legal experts started breaking down why no arrest had happened yet, and it all came down to technicalities. The cause of death was still deferred because of how decomposed Celeste's remains were, making it hard for prosecutors to prove exactly how she died. But everybody in the streets knew what time it was. You don't accidentally end up dismembered in somebody's trunk. The music industry's response was swift as hell. Intercope shut down all promotion. Major brands dropped him like he was hot, and collaborations got canceled faster than you could say lawsuit. But the speed of these responses made it seem like industry insiders knew something was up way before the public found out. What really had people in their feelings was finding out David was still online after the discovery, playing video games like nothing happened. Reports showed he was active on Fortnite even after Celeste's body was found, which showed a level of detachment that had everyone questioning his mental state. The evidence paints a picture of someone who wasn't just committing crimes. He was documenting them through his art, getting industry cosigns for his sickness, and maintaining his innocence while a child's family suffered. This case exposed how the entertainment industry can protect predators when there's money involved, and how young girls from certain backgrounds don't get the same protection as others. The shocking revelations were just the beginning of understanding how deep this rabbit hole really went. The digital paper trail. How this predator got caught slipping. When the feds started digging through David's digital footprint, they uncovered a systematic operation that had been running for years, targeting a vulnerable girl when she was just a kid. The evidence they pulled up painted a picture of calculated grooming that started when Celeste was barely out of elementary school, showing how predators really move in the digital age when they think nobody's watching. The big break came on September 17, 2025, when LAPD's Robbery Homicide Division ran up on that Hollywood Hills mansion with a search warrant. This wasn't no regular house search. They brought the whole squad, over 20 detectives and forensic specialists who spent 8 hours turning that place inside out like they were looking for Jimmy Hoffa. The warrant was thorough as hell, covering everything from digital devices to biological evidence. Investigators seized a whole arsenal of electronics, computers, laptops, phones, hard drives, and even David's PlayStation 5 that he used for his Twitch streams where he allegedly first got at Celeste. They also ran luminol tests throughout the crib, checking drains and looking for blood evidence that might show where the murder went down. The digital evidence they recovered was damning as hell. Screenshots from Discord allegedly showed David talking to someone named Celeste, going back to 2022, when she was just 12 years old and he was 17. This wasn't some random encounter. This was the beginning of a long-term grooming operation that followed the classic predator playbook. The pattern was textbook. Older guy with some clout slides into a young girl's DMs, makes her feel special and mature, then slowly escalates the relationship, isolating her from her support system. David used his growing fame and musical talent as bait, making Celeste feel like she was part of something exclusive while he was really just setting her up. One of the most incriminating pieces of evidence was that leaked song Celeste demo Unfin that had been floating around since December 2023. The track had some seriously inappropriate lyrics about someone named Celeste. The timing of this track was wild suspicious. He recorded this when Celeste was only 13, basically documenting his obsession with a child through his music. The lyrics talked about physical intimacy and possession in ways that would be illegal as hell if they were about a minor, which they clearly were. But the really sick part was how sophisticated the cover-up operation was. TMZ reported that Celeste had multiple fake IDs that made her look like a 19-year-old college student, allowing her to get into age-restricted venues and travel with David without raising red flags. This wasn't just some teenage girl getting a fake ID for parties. This was a systematic deception designed to normalize an illegal relationship. The fake ID scheme was deep. She had driver's licenses, student IDs, the whole nine. This allowed her to move through adult spaces without anyone questioning why a grown man was with someone who looked so young. David's crew genuinely thought she was legal because the documentation backed up her story. Even more foul was evidence suggesting David was paying people to keep quiet about the real situation. Photos surfaced showing him in Lake Photos surfaced showing him in Lake Elsinore near Celeste's house, handing out cash to local kids. While we can't prove exactly what those payments are for, the timing and location make it pretty clear he was buying silence about Celeste's true age and whereabouts. The timeline investigators put together showed how this relationship escalated over the years. It started around early 2022 when Celeste was 11-12. And David was 16-17 through Twitch and Discord platforms where he was building his online following. By 2023, he was writing obsessive songs about her. And by September 2024, they were getting matching tattoos. Those matching SH tattoos were particularly significant because Celeste was only 14 when she got hers. Under California law, minors need parental consent for tattoos. So, how did she get one without her family knowing that tattoo represented a level of commitment and shared identity that predators use to make their victims feel special and bonded to them? The investigation revealed that Celeste's runaway pattern wasn't random. It was directly connected to her relationship with David, her first disappearance. In February 2024, led police right to the Hollywood Hills property where David was staying. Instead of recognizing this as a red flag for grooming, authorities just brought her home and called it another runaway case. Neighbors from the Hollywood Hills spot gave crucial testimony about what they witnessed. Multiple people described seeing David and Celeste together regularly, acting like a couple and assuming she was around 18-19 based on how she carried herself. They saw them doing regular couple stuff, loading groceries, holding hands, looking comfortable together. To them, it seemed normal, which shows how effective the deception was. One of the most disturbing pieces of evidence was a February 2024 Twitch stream that got deleted real quick, but was saved by viewers. In that clip, you can hear a female voice that investigators believe was Celeste making some concerning comments about inappropriate topics. And David immediately told his moderators to delete everything. The sophistication of this operation showed that David wasn't just some random predator. He had a calculated system for targeting vulnerable young people through his Sad Boy brand. His music and online presence were designed to attract kids who felt isolated and misunderstood, giving him a pipeline of potential victims who were seeking connection and validation. The discovery that had the whole world shook. On September 8, 2025, what started as a regular Monday morning at a Hollywood toy yard turned into one of the most shocking discoveries that would have the entire music industry and the streets buzzing for months. The workers at Hollywood Tow were just doing their job when they stumbled across something that would expose a tragedy that had been brewing for over a year, involving a young girl whose death had been hidden in the most sick and twisted way possible. The Tesla in question, a black 2023 Model X with Texas plates, was registered to David Anthony Burke, the R&B artist who goes by David. This 20-year-old had blown up through TikTok and viral success with his track Romantic Homicide, hitting over 1 billion streams on Spotify. Dude went from making beats in his bedroom in Houston to selling out venues across the country. But inside the front trunk of his Tesla, that space where the engine would normally be in a regular car, workers found the severely decomposed and dismembered remains of 15-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez. The girl's body was wrapped up in plastic, and according to reports, her remains weren't intact. Somebody had chopped her up in what authorities said was clearly an attempt to hide the evidence. The timing of this discovery was cold as hell. Celeste had just turned 15 on September 7, 2025, literally one day before her body got found. People started wondering if that timing meant something, but the forensics showed she had been dead for much longer. Probably during that hot California summer when the heat inside that sealed Tesla would have accelerated everything. The identification process connected all the dots that investigators needed. Celeste was ID'd through dental records and a tattoo on her right index finger inked in red, which matched the exact same tattoo David had on his finger, but in black ink. That matching body art became one of the key pieces linking the victim to the car owner. When news broke, the contrast between David's public image and this horrific reality had people's heads spinning. This cat was known for making sad, emotional music about heartbreak and pain. and he was performing in Minneapolis on his tour when the discovery went down. His team said he was fully cooperating with authorities, but David himself stayed completely silent. No statements, no explanations, nothing. Celeste's background showed how the system failed this young girl from day one. She had been reported missing 3 different times in 2024. But each time the Riverside County Sheriff's Office just classified her as a runaway. That classification meant less resources, less urgency, and basically treating her disappearances as routine instead of potential signs of exploitation. Her first disappearance was on February 14, 2024, Valentine's Day. When she was just 13, police found her days later in the Hollywood Hills in the same area where David was staying. Instead of seeing this as a red flag for grooming, they just brought her home and closed the case. That was a missed opportunity that could have saved her life. The pattern kept repeating. She disappeared again in March 2024. Then for the final time on April 5, 2024. That last time she told her family she was going to the movies with her brother. But instead, she vanished completely. That started more than a year of being officially missing in the shadows of the LA entertainment scene. Her family's pain was real as hell. In their statements, Celeste's brother Matthew posted on social, "We lost our girl. She trusted someone who didn't protect her." Words that hit different when you understand how many people and systems let this child down. The connections between Celeste and David started surfacing immediately after the discovery. Celeste's mother told TMZ her daughter had mentioned dating someone named David, though she'd never actually met this person. The matching tattoos were another major connection. But the most damaging evidence was David's own music that had been documenting this relationship for months. That leaked song Celeste demo Unfin from December 2023 contained intimate, obsessive lyrics about someone named Celeste. The timing was foul. If this was about Celeste Rivas, it meant David was writing sexual, possessive songs about her when she was only 13 years old. The industry's response was swift but calculated. Intercope Records immediately stopped all promotion of David's album and marketing campaigns. Major brands like Crocs and Hollister dropped their partnerships and distanced themselves from the scandal. But the speed of these moves suggested that industry insiders might have known something was problematic. Before the public found out, the Tesla itself told its own story of attempted concealment. The car had major damage, a big rear dent, and what looked like tape holding the spoiler together. Neighbors in the Hollywood Hills had noticed the vehicle for weeks, moving from spot to spot like someone was trying to avoid detection or delay discovery. The location where the Tesla was abandoned was mad suspicious too. The car was found only once 5 blocks away from a Hollywood Hills rental that was leased under Josh Marshall's name, David's manager at Intercope Records. That luxury crib was costing $20,000 a month. And it would soon become the center of the investigation as authorities tried to figure out where the murder actually happened. The condition of Celeste remains made eye text trimly difficult for forensic investigators to determine exactly when and how she died. The LA County Medical Examiner's office had to defer the cause and manner of death while they waited for toxicology results and further analysis. This legal roadblock explained why no immediate arrest happened, even though the circumstantial evidence was piling up. For Celeste's community in Lake Elsinore, the discovery brought closure and unbearable pain at the same time. After months of not knowing what happened to her, her family finally had answers, but they were the worst possible answers. A GoFundMe campaign started by family members to cover funeral costs raised over $50,000, showing how much the community cared and wanted to help during their darkest hour, song lyrics and public appearances. What they found provided investigators with additional leads. But it also sparked wild theories and speculation that sometimes went way beyond the actual facts. This discovery exposed major flaws in how our system handles runaway youth, especially those from struggling backgrounds. Celeste's case showed the dangerous gaps in how law enforcement treats missing minors, with her multiple disappearances being treated as routine instead of potential signs that she was being exploited or trafficked. This case represents a turning point in how we think about celebrity accountability, online safety, and protecting kids in the digital age. As the investigation continues and the legal process moves forward, this tragedy serves as a wake-up call for systemic changes that need to happen to prevent other young people from suffering the same fate as Celeste Rivas Hernandez. The streets are demanding justice, and this case won't be forgotten until accountability is served. Like this video.